Okay, so one of the biggest topics, biggest questions that anybody has is macros, nutrition. How do I count it? How do I keep track of it? How do I figure it out? What is my number to hit? I think that's one of the biggest things, the biggest questions people have is what number do I hit? I want to kind of talk to you guys a little bit about the easiest way it was explained to me in terms of generating a good ballpark. It's not going to be an exact figure. A nutritionist, a licensed nutritionist, somebody that will, take all of your lifestyle factors in consideration, that sort of thing. If you're a performance-based athlete, you may require a little bit more. But for most of us, at our age, in terms of what we're looking to do lifestyle-wise and our activity levels, this is the best kind of ballpark way to figure everything out. Okay, so I'm going to tell you how to break it down. I'm going to use a dry erase board and erase and that sort of thing. So if you want to kind of take notes, follow along, feel free. But first, I kind of have a little guideline chart laid out. Okay. Start here. When you see on the back of any kind of package or carton, the labeling, the nutrition label, it says based on a 2,000 calorie a day diet. Okay. Sort of an arbitrary number to think about for most people, like 2,000 calories. Who does that refer to? Okay. Think about that referring to a 15 to 25-year-old female, okay, whose daily caloric intake is going to be less than a male in the same age range. Okay, so if you think of a 2,000 calories as a 15 to 25-year-old female, also important to remember, you're looking at BMRs, basic metabolic rate, for that 2,000 calories or for any baseline caloric value. Okay, that means if you were to wake up in the morning and did nothing for an entire 24-hour stretch, your BMR, your basic metabolic rate, is what your body would burn for your heartbeat, for your lungs to function, for your organs to function, just for your body to operate naturally, doing nothing. Okay, so that's the amount of calories your body needs just to function by itself, just so that it can carry out its normal processes. Okay, so here's what we've got in this chart. Ages are over here. Okay, so a 15 to 25-year-old female is looking at 2,000 calories as their BMR. A male is looking at 2,500 calories for their BMR. Okay, our age ranges go from 15 to 25, 26 to 35, 36 to 45, 46 to 55, and 56 plus. The reason being, all right, every 10 years or so, that 10-year being the ceiling, our bodies lose a little bit of essential hormone, testosterone predominantly. So for guys, every 10 years, that testosterone level is going to drop a little bit. And for ladies too, you also have testosterone. So estrogen levels are going to start to rise. Testosterone levels are going to start to drop. When that happens, our bodies function on fewer calories, just the way it is. That's why it's so easy to gain weight the older we get. Pretty straightforward stuff. So for women, if you fall in the 26 to 35 category, your BMR is about 1,800 calories a day. Guys, you're about 2,250 a day. Okay. Ladies, if you fall 36 to 45 years old, your BMR is about 1,600. Guys, you're about 2,000. 46 to 55 years old, ladies, your BMR is about 1,400. Guys, you're about 1,750. Sorry for my handwriting. I feel like it's backwards. And guys, girls, if you're 56 or older, ladies, you're about 1,200 calories as your BMR. Guys, you're about 1,500 calories as your BMR. Okay. So for every 10 years, for every decade, you are older than 25 years old. Ladies, you drop 200 calories a decade. Guys, you drop 2,500 calories, or 2,500. Yikes. 250 calories. So 200 calories for the ladies, 250 for the guys. And that's kind of where your starting point is, okay? Those calorie numbers, wherever you fall in that range, that's how many calories you're burning a day doing nothing or so, okay? Next, what we're going to do, activity level, right? Most of us aren't sitting around 24 hours doing nothing. Okay. So we get to add a few calories based on where we are for that. Okay. You've got basically 4 activity levels that in which you fall. Okay. So you've got your BMR, then you've got your light activity. That next step up is you're not exercising, but you're moving around during the day. Maybe your job requires you to get up, sit down. Maybe you've got kids, you're getting up, tending to them. You're doing some housekeeping, that sort of thing. Nothing you would consider exercise, but we're up and down and we're moving around. If that's you, right, which shouldn't be any of us in here because we should have some level of activity, you can add, ladies, 200 calories, okay, to wherever you are, and guys, 250 calories to wherever you are, okay? So whatever you're dropping, we can add if we have any sort of activity level. So I want to take, for example, let's take a 40-year-old female, okay? 1,600 calories is the base. For just a moderate activity level, up and down, general activities, walking, standing up, sitting down, whatever, you can add 200 calories, right? So if you're in this 36 to 45 range with a light activity level, you're at 1,800 calories, okay? The next step up, maybe you exercise 3 or 4 days a week, 20 to 30 minutes a day, you walk, you do some, light, maybe resistance training, weight training, some cardio, that sort of thing. We can add another 200 calories, all right? So we're at 2,000 calories a day from 36 to 45. If you are a 3 to 4 day a week exerciser. The third level there, okay, is 5-6 days a week of some vigorous activity. Your everyday lifestyle, getting up, sitting down, working, tending to kids, whatever. Plus you're throwing in a set workout, which is going to be a lot of people in this group, not everybody, but some people. Okay. You're putting another 200 calories on that. So you're at 2,200. Okay. So 2,200 for 36 to 45 is about where most people are going to be, okay, if you fall in the 36 to 45 age group and you have a 4 to 5, maybe 6 day a week program, okay? So you can do that with everything. Those are the 3 levels. No activity, light activity, moderate activity, heavy activity, okay? So take where you fall in that spectrum and figure out about where you are. Most people in here are going to be between that second and third group somewhere, okay? Use that high as your ceiling, and then, maybe you want to split the difference and say you're about 2,100 to be safe, okay? So again, 200 calories for each level of activity you have. So, if you're 56 plus, again, moderate, light activity is 1,400, 1,600, 1,800. Most of you are going to be around probably that 1,600, 15 to 1,600 mark. Now, how do we get there? Okay. Guys, for that, you would add 250 calories for the same way. Again, if you're an athlete or whatever, you're going to exceed that. Even your highest, because you're probably burning 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 calories a day, but that's none of us in here that have any sort of manageable activity level where it's not extreme. Okay, so how do we get there is kind of the next thing we want to talk about. How do we figure out the breakdown? So let's say you are a 40-year-old female, okay, with the activity level that we have in here. So you're eating about 2,000 calories a day. Okay, 40-year-old female, 2,000 calories a day. We're breaking that down into carbs, fats, and proteins. Okay, important to note, how many calories are associated with each of them. For carbs, 4 calories per gram. For fat, 9 calories per gram. For protein, 4 calories per gram. Okay, it's going to be important when we break stuff down. Going from there, all right, it's important to know what these do. Carbohydrate releases insulin. Insulin is a storage hormone, which means anything you take in combination with a carbohydrate, your cells are going to suck it up. It'll store it, okay, which is why people say carbs are the enemy, whatever, is because carbs are a storage hormone. It pushes nutrients into the cell. Fat, despite common belief, does not make you fat. The only reason that fat tends to make you fat is because there's so many calories associated with 1 gram of it. It's more than twice the calories of carbs and fats. But fat is a neutral nutrient. It does not elicit a hormonal response, okay? It just stays there. If you eat it with carbs, it goes into the cell. If you eat it with protein, it just kind of waits around to be burned as energy, okay? It doesn't do anything. It's not in itself, does not make you fat, okay? That's why they say carbs, cut those out, because if there's no insulin response, then nothing's being shuffled into the muscle, okay? So that's how we deal with that. Protein, the hormonal response that protein gives you is that it releases stored energy, okay? So the more protein you eat, the more energy is shuffled out of the cell and can be burned as energy, which is why if you're on a high protein diet, you tend to lose weight because you're pulling energy out of the cells and burning it, as opposed to carbohydrates where you're burning the carbohydrates themselves. And then fat is sort of there to be burned depending on whether you eat it with more carbohydrates or you eat it with more protein. That's why the keto diet is fat and protein. Once upon a time, the Atkins diet, because you could eat a lot of fat and protein and the fat wouldn't make you fat because it doesn't go into your cells. Because you're eating all that protein, the protein is shuffling it out of the cell and you're just burning that fat as energy as opposed to burning carbs as energy. Okay, so again, don't think that fat makes you fat. What the fat is associated with will, or depending on how many calories you need versus how many more calories you get because you're eating too much fat. So calories in versus calories out type thing. Okay, so let's take this 2,000 number. When you're thinking about protein, okay, the carbs are the third thing that we figure out. I need 2,000 calories a day. How do I figure that out? Well, I need about 0.8 grams of 0.8 grams of protein per body weight. Okay, some people say you need a gram of protein per body weight. I think that's a lot. I don't even get a gram of protein per body. I don't get 180 grams of protein a day, by no means. But I probably get about 140, 145, which is about 0.8 grams per. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. So let's say you are a 140-pound woman, right? And you're eating 0.8 grams. You get 112 grams of protein or so. Let's say that's 115. Let's round up, okay? So 115 grams of protein. 115 times 4, 115 times 4 equals 460. So 460 of those 2,000 calories are coming from protein, okay? So you can subtract that, okay? Fat, again, fat is not the enemy. It's eating too much of it to where your calories are in a surplus, or eating it with too many carbs to where it's shuffled into the cell, okay? So 2,000 is our goal minus the 460 in protein. So I have 1,540 calories left to work with, okay? The second thing we go to is fat, okay? Half of your body weight in grams of fat is okay, because we'd rather get more fat than more carbs, because again, fat is not a problem. Some of you are going to say half of my body weight in fat, that's a ton of fat. It might be in your mind, but the other option would be to replace that with carbs, and that's not a good option, okay? So higher in fat and protein, lower in carbs is a good thing. Don't think of fat as being the bad thing. So let's take that same 140 pound female, and we're doing times 0.5. So you're 70 grams of fat. Okay. 70 times 9, because we're 9 calories, is 630. Okay. So in 70 grams of fat, 630 calories there. So plus my original protein, I'm at 1,090 calories right now. Okay. So you take the fat, the protein. Okay. So now I've got what? 910 calories left. And 910 calories can come from carbs, since there's 4 grams of carbs per, 4 calories per gram of carbs. 910 divided by 4, 227 grams of carbs. Okay. That's my breakdown. Or so. For an active individual, 227 carbs, 115 protein, 70 fat for a 140 pound, 40-year-old female, give or take. Okay. Now, if it's a less active day, okay, increase the protein, lower the carbs. The fat doesn't ever have to change. The fat's just there. Okay. It's a super act. You always want to keep about 115 grams of protein. It's always about 0.8 grams per. Okay. But if you're not having a super active day, maybe you didn't work out that day, push the protein closer to a gram per body weight, and then figure out what the carb number does based on that. Okay, so if that's 0.8 grams, maybe I jump to 0.9 grams, which would lower my carbs to about 200 for that day. And you can just sort of ballpark that. So that's an active day right there. I worked out today. I'm 40 years old. I'm a female, based on a 2,000 calorie a day diet. That's kind of where I am. That works for any of those age groups with the 200 calories per level of activity. Okay. Also, alcohol. Alcohol is 7 calories per gram. Okay. So those of you that drink alcohol, like alcohol, that's okay. Just keep in mind, 1 gram of alcohol is almost twice the amount of a gram of carb. Okay. So most, beers, Coors Light, Bud Light, Miller Lite, that sort of thing, have about 14 grams of alcohol, which is right about 100 calories plus the carb content of that beer. So if you're looking to measure alcohol, okay, if you have a solo cup, and this is kind of something that some people know about, some people do not. A solo cup, a standard solo cup, it has ridges, 3 ridges to be exact. Those are not there for look, okay? There's a purpose to them. They're fill lines. The highest ridge is 12 ounces. That's your beer fill line. The middle line is 5 ounces. That's your wine fill line. The lowest ridge is your liquor line, okay? 12 ounces, 5 ounces, 1 ounce. So if you want to know what a standard serving of wine, 5 ounces, looks like, fill it to the middle line of a solo cup. You can calculate it that way. That's a serving of wine. So, you're looking maybe 150 calories there, something like that. Most people drink wine. I think beer, maybe at parties or whatever, but casually wine seems to be the thing. So that's kind of one of the ways to look at that. But essentially what you have there, go back through, kind of look at where you fall, look at what the BMR is, calculate your, kind of eyeball your activity level. Again, most of us are between the second and third. If you're worried about it, stay with the second line, the second activity line, which will be that middle value. Start with your protein first, 4 calories per protein gram. That'll give you a certain number of calories worth of protein. 0.8 grams is what we're looking for. If you're trying to lean out, maybe go to 0.9. and then that'll cut into your carb total a little bit. Next is fat. Half of your body weight in fat is okay. That does not make you fat. Fat does, it responds to whatever else it's consumed with. And then the remaining calories is for carbohydrates. Again, if you're trying to lose weight, increase your protein. If you're trying to gain weight, increase your carbs. Most of us are probably trying to lose it. So anywhere pushing towards that gram of protein. So if you need to lose more and more weight, the way to adjust it is not to alter your fat. It's to up your protein, which will in turn decrease your carbs. If you're trying to gain weight, increase your carbs, which will in turn decrease your protein. I think that's the easiest way to kind of go about it. So kind of go through this. It's a good ballpark. It's a good place to start without having a nutritionist. Hopefully it helps some of you. Go back through the video, figure out your numbers, do a little bit of math, and try to get a good range for yourself.